what happens when Saturn, the stern taskmaster, Zen master with a stick, headmaster, head mistress energy, moves into direct motion in your sky after being retrograde for 6 months? And that started in June, by the way, of 2022, and is finishing up on October the 22nd, 23rd, depending on where you live. What happens then? Things that were stuck, slowed down, and reinvestigated to deepen the foundational structures of some area of your life are going to finally move forward with more ease, flow, certainty, and foundational success. So basically, this is a thing that happens every year. Saturn retrogrades for 5 or 6 months, then he goes direct, and he's kind of like the 1 step forward, 2 steps back guy. So as he gets ready to go forward on the 22nd, 23rd of October, some area of your life is going forward too. And that will depend a lot on your rising sign, and you can listen for your sun and moon. Okay, if you're new here to my channel, welcome. My name is Lori Lothian. I practice Hellenistic and Babylonian and a little bit of archetypal astrology. We are using Western tropical, not sidereal astrology. And we're also looking at the sky from the aspect of whole sign houses. If you don't know how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, nor do you know what your rising sign is, go to my description box. I've got a bunch of freebies, a meanings of the 12 houses PDF. I've got, how to cast your chart yourself online using free software and find your rising sign and also see your chart in whole sign houses. And all you need to know to do that is your time of birth, okay? And a computer or a phone or an iPad. So check that out. So let's get talking a lot about Saturn. But before we do, a couple of orders of business. I'm recording this on October 12th. It goes for a couple of days to 3 days or even a week ahead of time to my Patreon community. But if you catch the wave of this video before the end of October, which I'm hoping you do, I'm having a big giveaway contest October 31st, Halloween day, and I'm giving away free readings, 10 prizes, free readings, free courses, half price readings, half price courses to celebrate crossing the 10,000 subscriber mark in late September. This is my big hurrah party for 1 month from that crossing point. Jump on in. All you have to do is subscribe to my newsletter, link in the description box. It's a weekly forecast. As soon as you do, you're entered in the draw. And number 2, and by the way, you get a lot of free perks, including 30% discount code off with any reading with me at my lunaticastrology.com website when you join my newsletter. So why not join anyway? But second way to enter into the draw is tell me in the comments that you subscribe to my channel. My assistant's putting all of the names into a giant frigging hat, and it's going to be a witch's hat, of course, because I'll do the draw live on Halloween day. And I will try to notify all the 10 winners as well personally, but just watch for that YouTube video with the draw. Okay, I'll probably put it out as a short or at the intro to a video about maybe Mars turning retrograde. Okay, let's get going. So if you're probably wondering, I'm always in somewhere new. You always see me in some different place, and I'm wearing my Saturn dress. Why? Because look, doesn't that look like the planet Saturn? I mean, oh, sorry, Saturn on my boob. But anyway, I'm in my sister's house in Ontario. I'm born in Northern Ontario, Canada, and I'm visiting her. And watch this. I'm just going to do this. She is a Reiki healer. And there's her Reiki healing doll that you guys have seen before and laughed at, that she uses on her healing table. And if you ever want a healing with Nancy Lynn, my sister, go check her website out, because she has like cured so many people of so many things, and she does it long distance, including curing me of an intractable SI joint problem. So yes, at a distance healing on me as well. Healing with NancyLynn.com. I always promote my sister, my biological younger sister. She used to be a nurse, by the way, and she's a masterful healer, Reiki and pendulum healing. I always promote her when I'm in her house. Why not? I'm her house guest, all right, this week. All right, so let's talk about Saturn. Saturn is stern, cold, stoic, disciplined, perseverant, boundaries, structure, sober. Did I say the word sober? Sobriety, realism, form and structure, especially, that which holds the universe together. He's the planet that is the dividing planet between the outer planets and the stars and the asteroids and the inner solar system planets. He's associated, so therefore he's like kind of like the bridge or the boundary line or the crossing line between those fantastical outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, with their big overarching mythical themes and magical qualities and supernatural stuff even, and then this real concrete world that we're all living in, like knock on wood and touch water or whatever, you know what I mean? Like the Matrix, okay? So anything under Saturn to the solar system, sun and moon is kind of like the Matrix. And you push outside of the Matrix, you get to the outer planets, you get to the Kuiper Belt objects, you get to the asteroid belt and all of the 22,000 named asteroids as well. You get way the heck out to the fixed stars. And the further we get away from Earth cosmologically, the more out of that Matrix energetically, the karmic binding structures we're in. Therefore, Saturn is also the Lord of time. So we think of him as a time master or a time lord in its own right, just as the idea that Chronos or time is a part of his wheelhouse. And time is kind of a little bit of an illusory trap, according to the mystic saints and sages of the world. So we're kind of trapped in Saturn's time game, right? And that's an interesting thing to think about when Saturn's going retrograde, which means he looks like he's moving backward from our position on Earth. And then when he goes into direct motion, you can almost think of retrogradation as breaking the rules of forward motion, breaking the rules of time. I find that Saturn retrogrades can be an incredibly powerful time in which some of the normal feelings I have with Saturn, everything's hard, shouldering responsibility, burden, can lighten up a bit, but also it's harder in an interior way. Like I feel like I'm dealing with my inner headmistress, my inner structure guru, my inner Zen taskmaster. Maybe you do too. If you go back to June the 4th to October 23rd, depending on where Saturn sits in your sky, right? This is the Aquarius zone where he was retrograding. You're going to find that this area of your sky may have felt internally difficult, but things on the outside looked fine. So we'll talk about that, okay? Second of all, there's something about Yoda or Obi-Wan Kenobi that's very Saturnian, the wise elder, the cynic, the sage, the mountaintop, hermit, that kind of thing. So don't just make it all about bad, malefic, cold, stern, sober, duty, responsibility. He's also got a spiritual depth. And in some placements in Indian or Vedic astrology in your sky, he can tell you that you are sage-like and you're here to acquire wisdom. Just one of those positions is when he's in Capricorn, his home sign, or another one is when he's in his in the first house, especially on your ascendant where he is with me. So keep that in mind. Of course, people with Saturn on the ascendant like me often are late bloomers and they age well and they live a long time, but they also have a desire to be of wisdom and sage-like countenance in their lives and in the world. Now, we're going to talk as well about what else he's done. Before we do all signs, I want to talk about how he was in the sign of Aquarius way the heck back. I mean, in a dog's age ago, March 21st, 2020 to July 1st, but he only made it into the first couple of degrees. And therefore, it's those very early degree ascendant Aquarians who felt his presence there back in March 21st, 2020 to July 1st. And he did retrograde back into Capricorn. But then as well, he was also coming back full-time occupation of Aquarius December 17th, 2020, and has been there ever since and will leave around March the 7th, 2023. So Saturn's usually 2.5 to 3 years in any given sign, but he's, you can see, he's in and out a bit as well because of these retrogrades of around 5 and 6 months every year. So what I want to say about that is that if you are an Aquarius rising, Sun or Moon, and any of the fixed signs, which are the Leos across the way from Aquarius, think of an equidistant cross when I say the words fixed sign, Scorpio and Taurus, where the eclipses are happening, you would have had more Saturnian energy adulting and sobering and realistically you up if your ascendants are in those early first 5 degrees of Aquarius, way back in the spring, March to July of 2020, the year of our pandemic onset. And then for the middle Aquarians, you got a lot more of that energy happening in 2021 when he retrograded on the dates of, I wrote it down somewhere, March 23rd to October 10th, 2021. He was in retrograde and he was in a very limited range of degrees. Between, I think, oh my goodness, I don't know if I wrote those degrees down. I think it was between 13 and 25 back then. That doesn't sound right, but anyway, just know that there would have at least been the middle degrees. And then lastly, this year, this retrogradation year, he retrograded, as I said, June the 4th, and he's going direct October 22, 23. And that would have been between, let me go check. Sorry about that. It's so funny that I can forget this kind of stuff, but I've got COVID brain fog. I had COVID 2.5 weeks ago, and I'm just not back to my normal self, 25 to 18 degrees Aquarius. So basically, I'm going to just simply say anybody between 15 to 29 Aquarius really felt this retrograde of Saturn during that window recently of June 4th, 2022, and coming out of this around October 22nd in Pacific Coast time, late in the night, and in the wee hours just after midnight, October 23rd on the eastern coast of the US. So just for your time zone. But Saturn's so slow moving. And I'm going to show you the sky right now, because what I really want to talk about as well is that he has been in this gnarly square to Uranus all through 21 and 22. And that's going to go away next spring. This is the last gasp of this gnarly square as he goes direct and finishes his business up. And this gnarly square kind of is peaking in the first half of October 2022. We're feeling it as I'm recording this on October 12th. It's pretty intense. And Saturn has been squaring that Uranus, and that Uranus has been tangling with the nodal axis where the eclipses are happening. And in fact, on November 8th, Saturn will be in a broad waning square to the eclipse at 15 Taurus. So Saturn has been like tangled up in eclipses ever since January of 22. Before that, last year, February, June, and December, he was in exact squares between Uranus and Taurus, where Uranus in modern astrology isn't particularly happy. Saturn is a ruler of Aquarius and strength, and we saw rebellion against lockdowns, pandemic restrictions, protests. It's freedom and rebellion and independence and iconoclasm and change. Uranus against Saturn, status quo, keep it as it is, rules for society. And those things were clashing quite a lot in 2021. And it's finishing up this year. Hey, I'm so relieved, but we're still feeling it. The last gasp when Saturn will go direct at 18 degrees, okay, of the sign of Aquarius. And he will still be squaring 18 degrees Uranus. So yeah, guys, it's pretty darn intense energy that we are feeling in this sky. There is no, 17.5 degrees Uranus. It's still the same vibe. It's still a pretty tight square. So some part of your life, you might want to push free, break away, make decisions, go for it. Yay, you, yay. And Saturn is saying, I'm on board, because I've been retrograding, says Saturn, since June the 4th. And I really want to help you, because when he went backwards, I think what he does when he goes backwards, from my Saturnian experience with Saturn on my ascendant, is I feel like he goes back and he checks the foundation. He makes sure the engine block isn't cracked. He's going back and giving you the internal processes you need to put the exterior structure and form, discipline, perseverance, and solid action of your life into place. Okay. He's associated with the darkest season of the sky, the Capricorn Aquarius seasons, which are the rulers, house rulerships for him, but they're seasonal energy. They're Christmas. They're the dark of the night. They're the solstice at winter. So there's something about him too. He is cold. He is withholding. He is dark, but he's also sage-like. And we can lean into our sage-like qualities of Saturn. We don't have to take him just as the malefic bad guy. FYI, if you are born in the daytime, Saturn is your malefic insect, and he's less damaging to you than people who are born when the sun is below the horizon line. Just a little tidbit from Hellenistic astrology. And of course, your Saturn in your natal sky when you were born is completely your Saturn. Like he could be debilitated in Leo, for example, or he could be exalted in Libra, which is good, or he could be in dignity in Capricorn or Aquarius. So where he sits in your chart also gives you a flavor of how you relate to him by dignity or by house. And so that's where it really helps to know your own sky, or go see an astrologer to understand a little bit more of this. Last Saturn conversation I'm going to have before we do all signs. Saturn can be like the advisor to the king, or the astrologer priest, or the one in governance and bureaucracy behind the scenes of power, or behind the scenes in any way. And I just want to bring up that this Saturn going direct can see us having some kind of momentum in those kinds of power structures collectively. But also, because the eclipse is coming up, the solar eclipse that is on the 25th of the month of October, only 2 days after Saturn stations and goes direct. Solar eclipses in the ancient world, and I'm going to do a separate video on that, were to be duck, because soul is a king, okay? And an eclipse of the king, and this is a partial eclipse, means an eclipse of somebody in power. So we may see some kind of push and shove between governing bodies and authority structures and the decline of somebody in a position of power in the weeks that follow the September October 25th eclipse, or even near to the epicenter of it. Go watch my eclipse video, because I called it the corrupted Venus data file eclipse, and go check it out in my description box. I'll put it there for you, and I'll go just look at my playlist. This is a very big deal eclipse for a lot of reasons. It's really bad for the stock markets, the economy. Of course, we know that's already a problem, but we should see some pretty big shakeups in the couple of weeks to a month that follow the October 25th eclipse, and then later on the November 8th midterm eclipse. Oh yeah, in the United States. But I want to be telling you guys how literal astrology can be. So I have this eclipse as an Aries sun and moon. Okay. I have this eclipse in my 8th house, solar eclipse in Scorpio, October 25th. And the 8th house is about your money, that, like money, it's money stuff, and it can be lots of different money things, but it's on a money axis, right? 8 and 2, or Taurus and Scorpio, for those people who are Aries rising, but derived Aries sun or moon people too. And I've had 2 financial disputes with a friend and with a client. Venus, the goddess of money, is in Scorpio, conjunct that solar eclipse, out of dignity, corrupted, in other words, and burning up under the beams of the sun with no protection from her chariot, which was when she was in Libra. So I talked in each video about where there could be money and friendship and love challenges, and I just got clobbered. I'm not going to tell about the personal friendship story and the finances, but I will mention this one. Just because, Mia, candor is a value, and you get candid shit from me. Okay. I had a client do a no-show for a reading, and I, out of courtesy, rescheduled her. Although it says on my website, you don't get a refund if you don't show and you don't give me warning, you won't be there. She's taking a spot. I'm booked out 4 weeks to 6 weeks in advance usually. That was somebody else's spot that she took, that could have used that time with me. And I tried to reschedule her, but then I got a ferry delay, and I couldn't do it because there's no Wi-Fi on the ferry, and the ferries were delayed that day. And that was a courtesy reschedule. And then I tried to reschedule her. There goes the police outside my window. And then I tried to reschedule her for another appointment. Then I got COVID, and I had to change and reschedule all my clients that week. And then she lodged a dispute of PayPal against me. And now she's stalking me in my channel and the comment sections, telling people I'm a scam artist. So yeah, it's the first time that's ever happened, that I've had to go all the way through a dispute claim with PayPal, even though I offered her half of her money back, just out of courtesy again, because she wasn't really entitled to even a reschedule. She wants all of her money back. And I'm just like, well, you set this in motion. But for me, it's very destabilizing to have to dispute over something like this. It's never happened. And for the first time, I'm just not backing down. So, I hear that song, don't back down, and I won't back down. But usually I don't like to fight over money. So I just back down. And this is, like, as I said, you'll probably see her in the comments here. She'll probably watch this video, make an early comment that she's reporting me to YouTube for being a scam artist. Yeah, you cannot make this poop up. But that's what it would happen to an Aries rising: disputes over finance, money, or secrets around money and love. Shit in the 8th house. Okay, let's get moving. Enough about me. We're going to do all signs. I'm going to show you the sky, and I'm looking forward to this. By the way, Saturn is stationing direct on a really beautiful star called Alnair. I can't draw it in, but it's there. Alnair is such a lovely energy. I think I'm so excited about it that I'm going to read it to you. It's very spiritual. And of course, don't forget, the sage-like wisdom of Saturn can allow you to experience that wisdom as he goes direct. I would say, anyway, that's my humble astrological opinion on that one. So he's stationed on the star by 2 degrees and change. He's really close. He's within orb of Alnair. It's the constellation, the Crane, all right, in the sky. And that Crane constellation is associated in ancient Egypt with the ascension of the souls to the other life, traveling the path to the other worlds after death, interestingly. It's also very spiritual. It's a very spiritual star, about spiritual abilities and spiritual aspirations. It can bring artistic and inspirational qualities to our lives. The Achilles heel is a sensitivity in the ordinary world where you're very vulnerable, you're too open, kind of empathic to the world, that kind of thing. And that makes a lot of sense too. Saturn is the loner, the outcast, the non-belonger, the one who sits outside of society, looking in on it, because he's on the outer edges of our visible solar system, looking in on all the action. So he's often in our lives where we can feel like we don't fit in and we're outcast from reality and we don't belong. But this star also brings creativity, kindness, and consideration for others. Couldn't the world use a little bit of that? Couldn't we all? So there's some positivity to this as Saturn breaks away from the gnarly square, finally, after 2 years, to Uranus, and begins a new journey next year as he moves out of Aquarius into Pisces. And we'll be doing a video on that as well. All right, so I'm so excited. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new. Please hit that little bell for notifications as well. Then when I post something, and I do a lot of live premieres where I'm in the chat box with you, then you'll know that you can come on in and chat with me and ask questions and stuff like that. All right, I'm going for it, guys. I hope I'm still recording. I had that moment. Am I recording? Oh my God, please tell me I'm recording. So you know I do this every time. I am recording. Let me share the chart with you. Here we go. So if anyone wants to defend me on my channel, go to my eclipse video and look for someone declaring me a scam artist. I have to block her because I have a feeling I might end up being stalked or something, cyber stalked. All righty, let's roll. Don't forget, healingwithnancylynn.com. I'm in our healing room right now. I'm actually propping my laptop on the healing table, like a massage table, and that's just an extra bed behind me. All right, so let's talk about this. I need more light. Shoot, there we go. God, all this time I could have had my light way brighter with you guys. Let's go. We're not going to start with Leo, but this is exactly kind of when the eclipse turns over. So it's around 12:08 a.m. in Washington, D.C. It will be around 9 p.m. on the 22nd in the Pacific coast. Again, it's 22nd, 23rd. Saturn is finally going direct. And you can see in the sky as he goes direct, right? And that Alnair will be next to him. He will still be in that square to Uranus, but he's moving away from the square to Uranus into the higher degrees of Aquarius. It's a story that has already passed. We're waiting for Uranus to turn around later on, a few months from now. I can't remember the date, but anyway, but in the meantime, the worst is behind us already with that gnarly square to Uranus. However, you can also note that there is at the time a trine to Mercury, which kind of suggests, and I'll do this on the all signs, that as he gets going direct, he's in a flowing harmony with a pretty strong Mercury in an air sign. Mercury is quite happy there. He's got some triplicity rulership in Libra, and he's looking over at Saturn, and he's having a very positive conversation. This can be some good news around things to do with what Saturn cares about, rules, regulations in the world, structured boundaries and stuff like that. And also, there is a Venus Cazimi, and it's actually exact the day before, the 22nd. And that is sort of on the sidelines of the story, but in a kind of a very broad flow to Saturn going direct, or Saturn going direct is looking over his shoulder, flowing at Venus in an enchanted moment in the heart of the sun on the 22nd, 23rd of October. Separate video coming up with my favorite astrologer, the Venus expert, Louise Eddington. So stay tuned for that. I'm really looking forward to putting that out for you guys. We're going to talk all things Venus in Libra for the first time in 200 years. I'm excited about that. You'll note that the moon will also be in Libra for about 2.5 days, accompanying this story of the movement of Saturn forward. Of course, the moon is getting ready to go into a new moon at 16 degrees or so of Taurus later on and create what is going to be, oh, sorry, what am I saying? I'm having one of those moments. In November 8th, the moon will be in Taurus and will create an eclipse up here. Yeah, up with the North Node Uranus energy. But right now, the moon is happily traversing Libra land, which is a good place to say a lot of Libra in our sky is going to be fortified by a direct motion Saturn. Later on, at the end of November, Saturn will move into a really beautiful trine with that Mars, who at that time is retrograde, but that's also very positive energy. So Saturn's kind of hooking up, making some positive sky stories in the aftermath of his forward momentum. Let's do all signs. We're going to start, of course, with Aries. And just before I start with Aries, let me just double check that I didn't miss Mercury on any particularly sweet spot in the sky. What if he's on something? He's on Eros. Yay! Mercury is sitting with Eros, the god of passion, eroticism, life force energy, what turns us on, what motivates us, what attracts us, what fascinates us. It's our joy of life and what we wish to pour passion into. Who is Eros? He is the son of Aphrodite. So yeah, I could say that Saturn is like, juice up, folks. You're going to find something you're passionate about. And then what you're going to do with that passion, ostensibly anyway, is you're going to bring it into form and structure. So we're going to go with that. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it for you all signs people. So we want to start with Aries, just for simplicity's sake, and I will try my best because people often note that I spend more time on the first signs and less on the latter. So I won't do that this time, I promise. Now, just for fun, I'm going to draw a card from the Gateway Oracle for each sign. I thought I'd just spice it up a bit. So for you, Aries rising, especially, Sun and Moon secondarily, this is a card called Cultivating Prosperity. I want you to keep the abundance of the universe is pouring into your life in mind. And that makes a lot of sense because, as I told you, I'm an Aries Sun and Moon in the beginning, and I complained about the gnarly money tensions with two females because it's in a money axis that you're experiencing, Aries, all of these eclipses. But now Saturn in your 11th house of windfalls, pennies from heaven, great financial gains from your career, your hopes, wishes, and goals and future orientation for your life, friends and allies who can help you. All 11th house of good spirit themes is moving direct. And as he does that, he's angular to the money houses of 2 and 8 and across from another money house 5. So yes, for a lot of Aries, cultivating prosperity is a thing that could happen. The abundance of the universe is pouring into your life, our life. Keep it in mind. Maybe I should just give those people the money back, or that girl the money back, and just screw it, because the abundance of the universe is worth fighting over. But sometimes you got to stand by your principles, especially when they turn angry and mean. But anyway, so us Sun and Moon, Aries people, we're looking at this really beautiful forward momentum. Now, Saturn here has culled a lot of our friendships, okay? We may have moved away from groups of belonging and friendship circles and a lot larger groups of belonging. I think I let my NCGR and my ESAR astrology community, or like Astrological Association memberships, accidentally lapse. But, honestly, because conferences were all canceled during the time of COVID and I wasn't going to any real live conferences anymore, I think that made sense. But, that happened when Saturn was going through COVID land here, and I let those things fall apart. I guess I could get back on them again. I think your clubs of belonging could be going bye-bye, have been gone bye-bye since 2020. As I said, when he first got in there, what were the dates again in 2020, guys, in the early degrees? It would have been like March 21st to July 1st, 2020. I didn't let it lapse until the 2021 time though, but it's good for our money. And you got the Cultivating Prosperity card. You got a trine to Uranus in the house of legal agreements and contracts, vows and oaths, marriage, the audience, the marketplace for your wares and for your products and for your services. 10th from the 10th is why the 7th is that thing. If you have something you want to sell to the world, you want a message to the world, Saturn is giving you form, structure, discipline, perseverance, and steadfastness and realism to get that thing out there into the world, that message, that thing you wish to sell. Mercury rules marketing, mercantile, and merchandising. You get your merch out there, you guys. You Aries can sell anything to anyone, especially with a Kazemi and Libra. We'll talk about that in a separate video. All blessings to your audience and marketplace, marriage, and business partnerships coming up for you in October's Kazemi. So yay. But that's another story. All right, moving on. I'm just going to make this somewhat pithy. Let's go ahead. I'm drinking some tea. I hope that's okay with you. I got a lot of complaints for nibbling a tangerine a few videos back, and told I was rude and obnoxious, although I swallowed and chewed and swallowed before I spoke. And you couldn't see it because I was back in the back end, but this is just tea because I'm getting over COVID. Let's just call it a spade, and it makes me feel better to be drinking warm tea. Next, Taurus, Sun, Moon, and rising sign. What you've got going on here is a card pull. That's the first thing. Remember, we all get a different card, and well, I don't know. It could be the same. Exceeding expectations. I soar into excellence. Excellence and perfection are key words for Saturn. Okay, so don't forget, he did retrograde, and he was banging around, checking the engine block and making sure the foundation was solid for you guys. And so we like when we get solid knockarounds, don't we? Why not? What the hell, right? So when he was doing that from June 4th to October 22nd, the area of your life that was kind of stuck a bit might have been your career house. Now, if you're a student, your career is to be a student. If you're a housewife or raising children, that's your purpose. It's your purpose, visible action you take, praxis in the world that shows up as your evidence of your purpose. And so sometimes it's an outright job career. Sometimes it's something else. You may have a day job, but your real purpose is to write novels on the side. You know what I mean? Or a musician on the side. What do you consider your purpose? Now, and others would recognize you for it. So you've been kind of stuck. You've been feeling stuck since, June 4th. Things have been going backwards, not forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward. And now things are about to get momentumized here in that area of your Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sky. Don't forget, the 10th is your visible reputation. And so if your reputation has been beleaguered or you've been suffering from reputation challenges, this also starts to clear up for you, which is wonderful. And you begin to feel forward positive momentum with support, right, from Mercury. Mercury over here in your 6th house of the workplace, the colleagues, the co-workers, the health and health routines, challenges and routines, and the work and work routines. So definitely for almost every Taurus, I'm saying the main story seems to be about your work, your purpose, and you're moving forward with new, fresh momentum. And thank goodness, because down here, Mercury is saying, yeah, and I'm flowing good marketing, merchandising, selling, messaging to you. Now, Mercury in Libra in the 6th house could be about finding some balanced, harmonious solutions through negotiation and mediation with people involved in your reputation and work part of your sky. And thank goodness, because this whole gnarly square as well between Saturn and your identity, your body, your health, and your sense of self is finally ending after almost 2 years. Don't forget, it started in February of 20. It's been lingering and lingering, and it's coming to a close as well. So you're free of all this pressure of you be you and you do you and you find out who the heck you are and you revolutionize yourself, and shocking changes in identity have been going on here. I have a Taurus rising friend married for 40 years or something like that who lost his spouse during that time. And, literally it just symbolizes a shocking change of identity. A lot of Taurus risings I know are relating to what I've said because this started in 2020, right? This ingress of Saturn in March of 2020 into your 10th house, squaring your identity. So yeah, so that's all over. You're starting to feel a sense of new stability about your identity, as well as your career, as well as your balance in your work life routines, as well as potentially this can look like a new job. If you're looking for a new job, this can look like an up level as well, with that trine from Mercury in some kind of reputation thing connected to purpose and work. Moving forward to the next sign, don't forget to like and subscribe, especially if you're watching the live premiere with me. It helps my channel grow. My live premiere had 179 people in it live with me while I was in the chat box. And I think I got about 70 likes during that, but that's like less than half. So if you're watching live, please hit that like button. I appreciate it. It really tells the algorithm to love me up and send my video to strangers who've never seen me before. Let's move forward to Gemini, sun, moon, rising. Now, Geminis, what you got going on here is you've got a backward Saturn since June the 4th in your 9th house, finally going direct on the 22nd, 23rd of October. And for the last time, in fact, before he leaves for Pisces land next March. So if you listen to the beginning of my video, you know the whole Saturn story and when he got there in 2020 March, but here he is finishing a longer narrative, especially if you guys are a Gemini rising sun or moon with any planets near 18 degrees in your 1st house, especially, or your sun and moon are rising are at 18 degrees, or you have a planet at 18 Gemini. This is flowing, harmonious, easy, sweet energy. It's called a trine. It's full of luck in its own right. And it's flowing, to you, to your identity. And that's a good feeling. Saturn is bolstering you. Now he's coming direct in the house of higher education, teaching and learning, foreign lands and travel, visas and passports, court cases and legal affairs, the meaning of your life, the Dharma, your wisdom, philosophy, your spiritual beliefs, churches and religious stuff like that, bureaucracy as well. Now, Saturn going direct here, if you have any, or book publishing, if you have anything going on, in that part of your sky, I almost forgot your card, then this is like, and it's been stuck since June. Now things are going forward. Like even just going back to school or academia got stuck. You got receiving from angels, shimmering wings of angels embrace me with love. Well, I love it because where would angels go in the sky? Probably to the 9th house of God. This is the 9th house of God. So those angels are looking out for you. Shimmering wings of angels will embrace you with love. I'm a progressed Gemini ascendant. I could use a little shimmering angel wings lately. The other thing is that Mercury, as Saturn stations on fixed star Alnair, a very spiritual star, and in your case, falling in a house of God, full of temples of wisdom and knowledge and tradition. As that is happening, you can also see that Mercury is lending a lovely little support here from the 5th house of inspiration. If you're a writer or creator, an artist, this is very positive, creative inspiration from your muse coming through. This is Mercury in the independent business house where you have your own company or you're an entrepreneur. Really good for you entrepreneurial types having some success in marketing, selling, or merchandising something that is 9th house. Wisdom, knowledge, teaching, learning. I'm going to start promoting my Divine Timing Masterclass soon. I've had about 150 students go through that. I've taught it twice. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that Mercury and Saturn might be signaling here is ease of promotion and sharing with things that you're teaching or learning. If you want to take a trip to a foreign land and you're a Gemini rising, yay you. Journeys and pilgrimages to foreign lands are totally happening here, and also travel for fun and leisure. Lastly, but not leastly, if you're single, there's a possibility that Mercury trining Saturn could take a romance forward that was stuck, stalled, or stagnant, starting from June 4th to October 23rd, and things weren't going forward. But maybe it is a trip abroad with someone you're dating or someone you're getting to know that can really jumpstart that relationship for you. Last but not least, if you're writing a book, this is a great station direct that could, in the days that follow, lead to, or even the weeks that follow, an agent, a publisher, or subject contract for something you've created that needs to be posted, published, or shared with the visible world. And I love it. I love it, especially with Venus co-present here. A lot of you Gemini risings are going to have a lot of love and creativity in your life over the next few months after the Cazimi. And that's a separate video. Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising. I almost forgot a card for Gemini. Let's give you a card. Manifesting dreams. My dreams are coming true. Okay, now Saturn is not what we call the manifesting god, really, but he is the one who brings your dreams into reality, because you might have like a architectural plan, but someone has to build the house. That's kind of Saturn's job to, well, both architect it and make sure it gets built. He's a foreman kind of thing. So why am I talking about this for you? What does it mean? Well, manifesting your dreams, and your dreams are coming true, Cancer rising especially. This is happening, but Sun and Moon, this is happening in your 8th house of your money that you share with your spouse or business partner, that you've invested in your 401k, or that you're saving in, putting in derivatives or passive income or royalty income or inheritance money. Sometimes Saturn moving through the 8th house can bring the death of an elder and an inheritance from that person. We're talking about 2020, 21, and 22 until March of 23, longer narrative. Back in June 4th, Saturn went retrograde here, and now he's going direct October 22nd, 23rd. So stagnation, stuck, kind of like interior processing around your treasure chests of money that you need or can share with others has been under review. You may have felt constraint, constriction, and fear, even anxiety, as Saturn went back to inspect the books. But now he's going to go direct, which is wonderful, on the 22nd, 23rd. It can bring you some more momentum in your money house, as I described that house. This is occult mysteries and magic. Learning tarot, learning astrology can be an 8th house thing, learning anything mystical and magical, occult and supernatural. Saturn could help you there as well. With Mercury in the 4th house, some of this has a lot to do in a flowing harmonious trine for some of you Cancers with legacy wealth, money from your family of origin, money or prosperity coming from selling or buying of real estate, connections to your ancestors supporting you financially, even if they're dead. Yes, because the 8th house is the house of the dead, 4th house is the ancestors. I kind of feel really positive about something breaking through financially from ancestral line stuff, even if it's just you having some good news from a parent, because your parents may be, especially the mother, 4th house people and their finances, and it may somehow spill over positively in your life as well. And finally, what you do in your home life, private life, when you're home alone, that's your 4th house. And, Mercury's, are you marketing, merchandising, messaging, or selling from your home? And if so, it could be garnering a huge uptick in your financial well-being, because of this trine as Saturn goes direct from Mercury. Okay, good news all around in a money way and home life way for you. Somebody in your home living with you may have some very good news that also positively impacts money that you can access. This chunky money, right? Eighth house, not a paycheck, not a fee for a client service. That, a chunky money could come here. With Venus in the fourth house, do you have a sibling, a sister, a friend visiting with you? They may have the chunky money news that's going to support you around October 23rd. So my sister's a Cancer rising. I'm staying with her. Maybe it's my winning lottery ticket. We shall see. Don't forget to check out Nancy Healing with Nancy Lynn. There's her healing doll behind me. I'm going to go put her healing doll in view for you guys. So this is a proxy doll. You know what I mean? It's like the doll that, you do the work on because you're not working in real life with somebody. Can you see I moved the proxy doll the wrong way. Hang on. Proxy doll. There you go. Boom. Got her. All right. So there you got proxy doll. Oh, anyway, someone said, what's that spooky doll back there? All right. Anything else I want to tell you guys? Nope, but your home life, private life, domestic life, and real estate life is going to really pick up with the Venus Cazimi. Stay tuned for that story on my video with Louise Eddington that I will be putting out shortly after this one. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Let's draw a card for you so I don't forget. Cherishing self. I accept and I love myself. So that's a very interior card, with Saturn being a perfectionist, a taskmaster, sometimes bringing us a lot of self-recrimination. Sometimes we're hard on ourselves with Saturn instead of with other people. Yes, it's time, Leos, to cherish yourself, to love and accept yourself. Now, what this is saying is Saturn will be going direct in your seventh house of your marriage partner, your business partner, your audience, your client, your marketplace. Okay. Well, if you're a Leo rising and you've been going through a hard time, full of grit and determination, and maybe even feeling like you're trying to build a new foundation in your marriage or business partnership or with new clients and audience. Well, then I get it. This started back in March of 2020. So a lot of times Saturn going through a marriage house, if you're married, Leo rising especially, but sun and moon derivatively, you feel the marriage is a burden and your partner may be going through a depression, difficulty, anxiety, or hard time. It's just not the easy place in your sky. A lot of marriages don't survive this transit. So I'm wishing you the best. Honestly, this and South Node transit through the seventh often kibosh a long-term marriage. But if you're single, it can bring a relationship with an elder gentleman or woman. And this happened to me years ago. Saturn went through my seventh house and I dated a guy like 18 years older than me for the 2 years that Saturn was in my seventh house transiting. So some of you may be involved in relationships that are new with someone older or wiser or more authoritative or more masterful and established in some area. Another keyword for Saturn is mastery. I feel with the trine from Mercury that what you're getting here is some really good flow and love and luck as he goes direct from your third house of siblings and from the house of your aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, and nephews. All your extended fam is down there. And trips and travel, especially shorter distances, and skills-based learning and education. And lastly, the third house is a communication house, and it's often connected to selling, marketing, and merchandising. I always tell people, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need fifth house planets and third house planets. Well, I'm loaded in both, by the way, but that's important. Otherwise, you don't have both elements of creating the business, but being able to share your stuff and sort of spew communications into the world, like to market it. Third house is also journalism and magazines and periodicals, which I was a journalist. So you might get some news coming. You may read a book, not read a book. Well, you could. Mercury in the third house could be positive news coming through social media, through things like that are positively impacting your marriage. Like this could be as simple as finding a book on how to heal your marriage, but it may also be something to do with other people, those siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, maybe friends from childhood. Something going on here that you need to just keep your conscious eye on in a positive way from that very busy third house area. This could even be your partner and you decide to take a trip. If you are a Leo rising, especially, and your rising sign is between 15 and 21 degrees of Aquarius, this is a particularly important station direct. This could give you a make or break vibe with that business partner, that marriage partner, or even some gnarly clients that you're ready to let go of. And you've been going through a lot of eclipse intensity as the eclipses have squared your identity. So this is going to take some of the heat off as Saturn is no longer in a gnarly square as well to your 10th house of career purpose and visible career stuff in the world. And now you're feeling like you've got the direction, the momentum, and the foundational energy that you need to be masterful and share your mastery with your audience and marketplace. Okay, so there's a little bit of that vibe going on here with the Saturn direct for you. But don't forget, love and accept yourself, because I'll tell you, Saturn is, Saturn can be very critical, but it also sometimes creates self-critical in our lives. Hey, if you're watching live with me on the premiere, don't forget, if you like my like button, then it helps my channel grow. And guess what? YouTube shares it with more people. So if you're in the live premiere with me right now, please hit my like button. I so appreciate you guys. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. So we're going to draw a card from the Gateway Oracle for you to kind of give us a keynote, hearing messages from spirit. I'm a clear channel for messages from spirit. Now, they don't just mean dead people. They mean like spirit guides, angels, ascended masters, getting down with your intuitive guidance system. Interesting card. Saturn is going direct in a metacosmos house, between the worlds. What are those in between the worlds houses? A liminal between space. Those are houses 12 and 6 and 9 and 3, according to the ancient Hellenistic tradition. This is a place between the worlds, and it has less to do with our outer success, our commerce, or relationships. It's not angular houses. And by the way, they're called succedent houses. They are houses that have to do a lot with our karma and our spirituality. Some of it is moksha, or spiritual liberation energies, that can be involved in the 12th house, for example. So it's a subtle place. And you did get the messages from spirit. Saturn in the 6th house is trying to bring structure, form, discipline to your health routines and to your work routines. And he's been there, and to your workspace environment. And he's been there, right, since 2020, March, in and out. And he got there full time in 2020, December, and he leaves next March. Now, he did retrograde from June 4th until this October 23rd. So you might have had to go back and solidify or redo or ground some health challenge, try to go back and work on it. And like, I found that Saturn retrograde in the 6th can bring on a karmic illness. Now, my daughter's a Virgo rising, and she suddenly, since this retrograde, ended up with adult acne. She's never had it before. And it started just as Saturn began his retrogradation through her 6th house. But the upside of Saturn in her 6th house during this time since 2020 is she's managed to get the attention of expert authorities in the health area, particularly a head dermatologist. So, there's an upside to Saturn here as well. If your work feels heavy, hard, and burdensome, and your job feels like drudgery and duty, that's a Saturn here especially. And Saturn going direct can help ease that load, and it can ease it in many ways. Saturn can also be like the Grim Reaper, and you may leave a job or cut away from something. There's been a lot of tension here for some of you, as a Saturn has been squaring the nodes, and one of the squares is your 9th house of what's the meaning of my life? What's my purpose? What's my true dharma? Am I on my path? This is a house of higher education. My daughter texted me the other day, said, I think I'm going to quit school. I can't take this commute anymore. And she's working, as well. So she's trying to finish up her studies at university. That can feel like that, like scythe, because Saturn will go direct on the 23rd, 22nd, 23rd. Some of you may cut out of school, change your major. You may want to move to a foreign land, leave a foreign land. You may change a structure of your purpose, your dharma, because all that square energy to the 9th house nodes of fate. Now, with this flow and love from Mercury, right, coming from Libra, shining a beam of love toward Saturn, there's financial uptick here for you. If you are looking for a better job with better pay, if you're looking for a better boss situation, if you're looking to be a better boss for your employees, and also round that out with financial flow for you, especially money coming in through your work and career area. It's really lovely. And especially at the end of November, when that Saturn-Mars trine will happen in your 10th house, 6th house axis. So things are looking up for the work, money, coworker, job, drudgery, and career space as a result of Saturn's direct motion. Okay. So I like that. I mean, what's not to like? Oh, did I draw a card for you guys? Yes. Messages from spirit. Use that masterful Yoda, that Obi-Wan Kenobi, that sage-like character in your 6th house in direct motion to tune in to what messages the universe has for you. It is accessing an opposition to the 12th, where you're going to find your ascended masters, angels, and Akashic records. And it is sextiling the 8th house of the dead, where messages from the ancestors who are in the realm of the dead may come through for you. Okay, just some fun ideas. But yeah, let's see what happens. Keep me posted. And if you're watching the live premiere, don't forget, if you like and subscribe, it helps my channel grow. And if you like during the live premiere, I'd really appreciate it. Of course, if you don't like what I'm doing, don't do the like button. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. What time is it? Okay, I got to keep rolling, guys. It's a client day today. So Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. What you've got going on in your sky. Oh, well, first you need a card. I almost forgot. You've got the card. Planting seeds. Seeds of grace are planted in the fertile soil of my soul. Seeds of grace, planting seeds, are planted in the fertile soil of my soul. Well, let's talk about that. Saturn is in the 5th house of joy, play, fun, and pleasure. But it's also a seed house. Why? Because it's the ovum and the sperm house. It's where we have babies. It's where we get pregnant, have babies, make babies, fertilize each other. And so what are you fertilizing? What seeds need to grow? Because Saturn is here going forward after retrograding since June 4th. Well, he went backwards to make sure 2 steps back, 1 step forward. You shore up that foundation around things to do with your children, your lover, your romance, your creativity, your muse, your business enterprise, especially entrepreneurial. When Saturn is going through the 5th house, which has been doing for you since 2020, there's no doubt about it. You work hard to have fun. It kind of puts like a rain on the fun parade energy going through your sky, but Saturn is looking for long-term, deeper, stabilized ways to find pleasure and enjoyment in your life. He's not frivolous. Tonight. This is like, what is deeply, sustainably joyful that you can count on, that brings legacy joy? And that's one of the questions he's making you address. You know, it's not enough to have like a glass of wine or 2 or 3, or a hit on the bong, or lots of sex. These can be 5th house pleasures or leisure travel. You're looking a lot deeper to find out what it is that's going to bring you foundational joy, causeless joy, maybe even. So as Saturn is moving through here, and moving direct after being retrograde since June, where you may have found you had to go back and look at these questions that I brought up, or address your children with a new eye, especially around discipline or sternness or realistic conversations. Mercury from the house of you supports that. This is you being verbally acute, direct, clear, balanced in your speech, in your things you write or say, things you communicate toward your lover, your children, if you're an entrepreneur, it could even be your clients. Now, in some ways, Saturn here could help you be a vehicle, a channel, or a messenger for something deeply muse-driven, inspired from a deep inspiration and enthusiasm within you. Later on, in the end of November, there's a lot of love between Saturn and Mars in your 9th house. So they could bring in some really powerful purposeful new directions around your book publishing and foreign lands, but we'll do a separate video on that. And anything else I want to tell you? Now, just about this, I think we're stopping there. I mean, Venus Cazimi is going to bring you a lot of love as well when she fortifies you in your 1st house. Really good for beautifying yourself, but we'll get to that Venus Cazimi later in my video with astrologer Louise Eddington. But you're planting seeds here, and Saturn will make sure whatever creative seeds, creative projects, love projects, children projects you're seeding now, because he's been retrograde since June, he's digging the soil deep and he's fertilized it, that these things go forward with a real solid base. All right, you're ending strong here. It is a flow to your identity. If you're a Libra rising, sun and moon between 15 and 21 degrees of Libra, this is particularly a positive feeling as Saturn goes direct for you on the 23rd, 24th of October. 22nd, 23rd of October, I apologize. All right, moving to the next sign. I need more tea. This, by the way, is nettle tea. I have some wild harvested nettle tea. And I have to tell you guys, once you start on nettle tea, you can't stop. It is quite earthy. It tastes great. Downside, it's a diuretic. It makes you go with the pee all the time. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. We're talking Saturn, going direct. Let's take a card for you. Receiving from angels. How could two of you get that card today? Shimmering wings of angels, embrace me with love. I did shuffle. That's really cool. Okay, so Saturn is in your fourth house of the ancestors, your mother, your family of origin, growing up as a child, maybe both your parents, but it's the house of the mother in my tradition. Saturn has been retrograding since June, but he's also been in this house in and out since way back in 2020 in March. The retrograde since June is his last gasp of sort of solidifying something to do with your home base. Some of you, it has to do with your land, your real estate, your property, your rental, or the home you want to buy or the one you want to sell, or difficulties there. And you may have felt like, oh, my home life feels burdensome, especially since December of 2020, when he entered in there full time. Like home is heavy or burdensome, whether it's because of real estate or property issues, or just like things in the home. Saturn here could have brought a senex, an elder person, an aging relative into your home during the last 2.5 years. That's possible. Don't forget, Saturn leaves here next March. Now, Saturn is getting a lot of love. And don't forget, we got shimmering wings of angels here. And, you know, you could conceivably say that ancestors are your guides and angels as well, watching over you. But you can double down on that because Mercury is loving this story from the 12th house, which can also involve ascended masters and spiritual beings as well. And this can be some forward momentum financially regarding things to do with property, especially because Saturn at the end of November will trine Mars in the house of mortgages and real estate and loans and investments and things like that, and grants from the government, tax rebates. So some of you, Scorpio rising especially, but sort of sun and moon, can be dealing with some forward momentum in that area of your sky as Saturn has gone back to go forward again. And so, you know, you might have thought you wanted to sell your house, but you need to fix something up, or you realized you had to do something first, or you wanted to buy a place, but the timing fell apart and it wasn't right. Saturn was protecting you if you wanted to buy, because of course the real estate market's crashed since June of 2004, and you would have bought at the peak if you pushed against Saturn retrograde there. Now, one of the things I would say is that if you have any addictions, self-undoing, you know, bad habits, 12th house stuff, Mercury, the messenger of the gods, who also is a psychopomp and also a dream messenger. This could be really powerful dream messages or insights coming from beyond you, clarity and news about how to undo your addictions. And some of these may have been handed down from your ancestral line, you know, where you just copycatted patterns of addictions or bad habits. So that can be relieved as Saturn goes direct on the 22nd, 23rd of the month. You know, I'm finding that PayPal, Stripe, and all these kinds of these payment processors that allow you to generate revenue from foreign lands often looks like 12th house stuff. It's third from the 10th, and it kind of looks like, you know, the barter and trade marketplace of your career. So some of you might find good financial news coming from that part of your sky if you have independent revenue you generate from foreign shores and lands using payment processors of any kind. Anything else I'd say? Certainly some news coming from some left field around the direct motion 22nd, 23rd. That's good for you regarding home and real estate, land, and your private life. Okay, that could be very positive as well. A lot of you Scorpios will drop addictions and self-defeating habits and patterns for the rest of your life in the next like 7 or 8 months, but that's a part of the Venus Kazemi story, and we'll get to that next when I do my video with Louise Eddington. Are you watching me on the live premiere and you haven't hit my like button? Well, then like me, because it helps my channel grow. Thanks, guys. All right, Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, Sagittarius, let's draw you a card to start off with from the Gateway Oracle. And what do we get? Looking deeper. Deep within me is a majestic radiance. Wow, okay. Deep within you is a majestic radiance. Sagittarius fire, because you're fire, you would be radiant, wouldn't you? And Saturn, the Lord of time and karma, structure and discipline, hard work and sobriety. Sitting on that spiritual Alnair star in the Metacosmos, you know, no, yeah, it's a Metacosmos Caden house. You're definitely looking at this like maybe what you're going to do here is you're going to move forward after being stuck since June last year. And you're going to move forward in some area of your sky or your life that has to do with your local environment, your neighborhood, where you live. It can also involve your siblings and sometimes extended family, like aunts, uncles, and cousins. Sometimes Saturn in the third house means a sibling's been going through a mental health challenge, physical health challenge, structural health challenge, and you have been on the sidelines, and maybe you're witnessing the improvement then of something that beleaguered a sibling, or aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, and nephew. But there's like a forward direction here. But sometimes as well, like a lot of you Sagittarius who love foreign land travel and adventure during the pandemic would have felt really squashed and constrained there because we had so many travel restrictions and difficulties, and airlines were shut down and the airlines were beleaguered as well. And you may not have traveled that much because trips and travel are third house things. And now it's moving forward full on until next March. So there's that as well, because, you know, Saturn here could have really kiboshed your joy of travel and adventure. If you are somebody who's teaching anything or wanting to learn something in this house that's skills-based and useful, this is also a forward momentum about getting your hands on that learning and getting going with it. And you have a trine from a Mercury on Eros, passion. Remember the asteroid Eros? I kept forgetting to talk about that, shining a love beam over to Saturn. So you could have good news coming from a friend in your social groups, a friend or ally, but you know, you're supposed to look deep within you for that radiance. So keep that in mind. But your hopes, dreams, and wishes, your higher goals, your longer term future oriented plans are your 11th house. Also great gains from your career, pennies from heaven. However, to me, this feels a lot like in a couple of weeks, a week, maybe the week after the station direct, you know, you're kind of baked in this energetic Mercury signature, some exciting news from a social group or friend coming through your life that impacts you around travel, siblings, education, communication, your neighborhood. You've been going through a lot of hardship here too, because you've got that eclipse cycle in the 12-6 axis where it's psychological, emotional, spiritual, and karmic tension in your sky. And so some of it's been really kind of gnarly for you. You know, we won't go into that. Check my eclipse video for that one on the Scorpio 2 degrees eclipse. You'll learn a lot about what I'm telling you now. But this is like a breath of fresh air as Saturn goes direct and begins to give you some kind of supreme relief. Because Mercury in Libra in your 11th house is positive upon positive, a positive luck house with Mercury at direct motion trining Saturn. I think some of you will get an opportunity through a friend or a group of people to do something exciting and get forward in local neighborhood involvement, sibling involvement, aunts, uncles, cousins involvement, childhood friend involvement, and maybe a trip or a journey that you're really excited to take. Okay. Mercury is part of the travel story. Like he likes to travel. He's a patron protector of people traveling. And, you know, technically at the time of this actual Kazemi, because I've moved forward in time, the sun is still in Libra with Venus, and the sun rules your house of court cases and foreign land. So it's definitely going to be, a lot of you are definitely getting an opportunity to travel, especially to a foreign shore. Maybe even relocate for all I know, especially if your IC is in the third house, whole sign house. Okay, someone accused me of being a real downer when I did my eclipse video with the corrupted Venus file for the Capricorns, where I didn't give them any hope. Maybe that's true. I'll have to go back and listen if I was really down on you guys. So let's try to bring you some upbeat news here, Capricorns. Let's pick a card first. What's your message today? Taking action. Well, what does a Capricorn do but take action? The earth signs, right? I enthusiastically embrace life's boundless possibilities. Well, I don't see, you know, when it comes to humor, Capricorns are mirthful, right? They have mirth. Wry humor, but taking action is something you do, but enthusiastically embrace. Yeah, I don't think so. You're too Saturnian for enthusiastically embrace, but you should embrace life's boundless possibilities. And boundless is not a Saturnian Capricornian word, right? Boundaries is Capricorn Saturn. This is boundless possibilities. So there you go. It's a deeply new energy and we're trying to get you to do. Saturn is going direct. He's been retrograde in your second house of earnings, voice, vocation, and calling ever since June of this year, 22. And as he goes direct, things that were stuck, stagnant, or held up because they had to go 2 steps forward for 1 step back, Saturn, taskmaster of discipline, moving you forward financially is basically the story. And as he does that, I want you to think of your second house as more than just your earnings house. It's also your possessions. He's going direct. You may be able to possess something new that you really want. You may have dispossessed yourself of something you didn't need when he was retrograde, like selling it or something, or letting it go. Your voice is a second house, and when Saturn is here, it constricts the voice. So where have you been unable to speak something that you needed to say to anybody, but in this case, it looks like a child or a lover, because of the action in your fifth house, that you're able to finally voice it to that person, you know, what's not working for you. Where's your healthy boundary? Where's your basta? Enough. Where's your no, thank you even? It's time to speak it out into the world or to that love partner or child, which is what that looks like to me. And Saturn here is kind of like, you've been working really hard for the last 2.5 years to save money, to be disciplined with your spending, to hold your purse strings tighter than you normally would. And he's going to try to reward you as he goes direct, right, on the 22nd, 23rd, as he crosses the finish line into Pisces next March. So if you have been diligent, perseverant, and you've been really cautious and conservative financially, the rewards are coming over the next few months. There's a support and a flow in your career house where Mercury is sitting, and reputation house, toward this forward momentum financially. So I would say for a lot of you, this is going to look like a raise or promotion and an advancement, an up level, a new job with better money, or the same one with better money, some up level here financially, good news from work, right? Mercury here makes it ideal time to apply for that endless possibility, big dream career job, or catch the big one. So you may even be headhunted with this kind of thing for some incredibly positive career development for you. But no doubt about it, Capricorn rising especially. And I would say if your rising sign is anywhere, because you get that Mercury hit around 18, 19 degrees of Capricorn or sun and moon, this looks like you could even get like out of the blue, happy, good news around your money career story. And, you know, with Mercury on Eros, you know, bringing passionate, exciting developments to your work, that could be what I'm seeing here as well. I hope that's useful and more cheerful, Capricorn, than what I might have said during the Scorpio solar eclipse video that apparently brought one of my listeners way down. I apologize for that if I was too dour, but well, you know, you be dour with a Capricorn. All right, Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising, which is me. I am about 18 degrees, 16 to 18, depending on my rectified chart, Aquarius. And we are experiencing Saturn moving through the house of us. Yes, this started up in 2020 in March to July, March 21st to July 1st. And we started to sober up, adult up, get serious. I actually joined a group called Sober Sisters back then, you know, to stop drinking wine every day. By the way, I haven't had any wine now because I had COVID a couple of weeks ago. I haven't had wine in almost 3 weeks. And feeling really great. I'm actually not missing it at all because, you know, someone poured me a little bit of wine at Thanksgiving, like 4 ounces of white wine, and I barely could finish it, maybe 3 ounces. The white wine from France, $45 bottle of Burgundy, tasted like straight vodka. Yeah, it's like altered taste buds from COVID. Crazy ass, eh? So basically, we are going to find this very positive. Yeah, like way positive. So let's grab a card for us because it's our Lord Saturn in the house of us moving forward, especially for the rising Aquarius, is secondarily sun and then moon. Cherishing the self. Second time we got this card. I accept and love myself. Saturn is a perfectionist, a disciplinarian. He can be very critical and he can make us self-critical. When he's going for our first house, we're self-critical. I've been like, oh my God, I'm 60, I'm aging out. And I had all these hip problems and I couldn't walk before my sister Nancy Lynn healed me. Check it out. There's our healing doll, healingwithnancylynn.com. Go check it out. And, you know, I have been very self-critical since Saturn entered my first house. And maybe I haven't cherished myself enough, given myself enough downtime. I became a workaholic in 2020 when he entered there and the pandemic hit. And I saw like scary number of clients and I didn't let up. Only in the last few months have I cut back my reading schedule and given myself some breathing room. So I think all of us have to think about, with Saturn in the first house, Aquarius people, as it travels through this house, where have we broken our own backs by being or a workaholic and a perfectionist? Now, He has been retrograde since June the 4th. And then he goes forward, as you know, on the 22nd, 23rd. So go back to around June 4th and what was going on in your body, your health, your identity, your sense of self, that you had to go back 2 steps back to go 1 step forward. Of all things, I can tell you my story because I like to use me as an example because I know what's going on for me. And I'm Aquarius rising like you guys, or sun moon. And in June, I injured my right glute piriformis, or I didn't injure it really, but something went wrong. I mean, and I had trouble the year before with my left side. My sister, who's the healer, told me it has to do with emotional support. If you have an injury or problem with the buttock, especially the right side, is do you feel emotionally supported in the world? And, you know, the year before it was my left side, and that was Saturn in my first house retrograding, and that was financial support. And I had to leave the province of Quebec with a excruciating tax rate that I didn't know I had entered into, where I didn't have a holdback for that much money, and I had to dip into my savings, and I felt really pissed off and unsettled about my financial support structure. And this is my emotional support structure. So starting in June, Saturn said, you don't feel emotionally supported. I'm going to go back and I'm going to see what's really going on here for you. And I came up with the answer. For me, I'm not supporting myself emotionally. I mean, how can someone else support me emotionally if I can't support myself emotionally? What does emotional support look for me? Kind and cherishing actions and choices toward me, right? A lot of Saturnian people, right? Capricorn rising and Aquarius rising, or people with Saturn in the first house, depending, no matter what sign you are the worst critic and the worst taskmaster and the worst slave driver of your own self. Yeah. And you don't like, you know how to have fun sometimes, but you're very serious. So keep it in mind. We Aquarians are finally going to get this lift up energy as Saturn, having now cleaned up something in the back end of our internal psyche, closet, and health. And he's going forward on October 23rd, and he will cross that finish line through Aquarius next March. We are done with this story. We have adulted up, sobered up, looked inward, taken care of ourselves, learned some hard Saturn lessons. Saturn is the master, the authority, and the expert. What has he done when he went through Aquarius since 2020? He got me to become an expert authority on astrology channel, YouTube land, stuff like that, which I hadn't done and hadn't developed. Yes, I had my YouTube channel for several years, but it was only in 2019, maybe halfway through, that I changed it to an astrology channel, and only in 2020 that I began to put real video content out there, etc. So you may also have mastered something during this time, become the master of something. You're going to feel good about it. We're going to feel good about going direct and no more retrogrades in our sign for another 30 years. So we have to wait till we're 89, 90 for the next time this is going to happen. Hallelujah. All right. Especially Aquarius rising 15 to 21 degrees, or sun and moon in those degrees. This is a really important direct motion for you. It really matters. You're going to feel so much lighter, so much better. Yes, you'll still be disciplined, stern, focused, perseverant, task-oriented, but you won't feel as heavy about it all. All right. Especially at the end of November with the trine to Mars, it's going to really feel like you got it, like some kind of groove of success and work success and passionate movement. Now, during the actual station direct, there is this lovely Eros infused Mercury in a trine to Saturn from the 9th house. For some of you, it can look like success in book publishing, court and legal cases, travel to foreign lands, planning or taking or getting ready for that, or booking a trip or taking the trip. Good news from a male authority figure or father-like figure. 9th house in Vedic astrology is the father house. You may have some positive news or information from somebody in a foreign land or somebody abroad. You could get a divine download because Mercury is in the house of God, and you could have an aha, insight, pineal gland download here, inspiration of some sort. Third marriages in one of the traditions of Vedic astrology. Someone tried to correct me. Okay. Depends on which tradition you're using. The tradition I like to use, it seems more accurate. A second marriage is the 2nd house. First marriage is the 7th house. Second marriage is the 2nd house. And the third marriage is the 9th house. If you're on a third marriage, or the third marriage is, is on the horizon, like you're seeing someone you think is going to be your third husband or wife, this is the forward momentum and positive news and directions around third marriage matters coming up on the 22nd, 23rd of the month. And I like Mercury here as well if you are a writer, because he's in Libra, library book, and he could bring you an inspiration for a book that you might want to publish. He could bring you a breakthrough with an agent or a publisher as Saturn stations direct at this time. Okay, so I hope that is useful and helpful to you, us Aquariuses. Oh, last but not least, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. First, we draw a card. I don't think I forgot anybody this time, guys. I have COVID brain and I misspeak lately in my videos. People do correct me and I appreciate that. But I just want you to know that there is a thing called brain fog. And the way I've noticed it is I forget things that I know. I was with a client, I couldn't remember the date of an eclipse that I've known by heart for a dog's age, the simplest things. Or I'm trying to pull out a name and I can't remember that person's name, but I see their face in my mind. Hopefully this clears, but people tell me it takes a while. Pisces, you need to heal the past with this Saturn direct. I step into my future with strength and clarity, but you have to heal the past. All right. So that makes so much sense. Saturn is in an intercosmos, metacosmos between the worlds, 12th house. It's where you do have a connection to your childhood of origin. Your fourth house, it's trine the fourth house and the past. And, you know, the 12th house is your past lives as well. So don't stop with the past of this life. Go all the way back to past lives. Time for some serious healing. Saturn moving through your 12th house since March of 2020, but in earnest since December of 20, is about cleaning your karmic closet. It's about solitary, contemplative, deep alone time. It's about becoming more aware of your inner wise woman. It's about harvesting, reaping, and ending cycles of karma, self-undoing, addiction, all right, and self-sabotage. It's an intense time. You can feel very alone, very a loner, very sometimes deeply nostalgic and contemplative about your childhood, even because it does activate the fourth house. Hidden enemies may have shown up, people who didn't have your back, or constriction and restriction in 8th house matters. My sister's a Pisces rising and PayPal shut down her business account a year ago. That's classic Saturn in the 12th house, and for no reason. And there was no recourse unless she hired a lawyer. Yeah. So things like this can happen with Saturn, but he's a taskmaster and a Zen stick guy. So he may be bringing something good. So don't look at the things that go wrong here as just bad. Mercury is in a money house that you share with your partner, like shared resources, alimony, palimony, spousal support, inheritances, tax rebates, mortgages, royalty income, grants, stipends, credit cards, credit card debt, leveraging money. Okay, all the other people's chunky money you can get your hands on. It's the 8th house. Mercury is bringing some good financial news to you. This is positive. This is on the 22nd and 23rd. Don't forget, Saturn went retrograde since June 4th. Have you been reinvestigating parts of your 12th house story? Really cleaning up your psyche, your soul, your karma? Have you been going back in order to go forward so you don't undo yourself? Sabotage yourself. You got to heal the past, as the card said. Well, now, and Saturn is a lord of time and karma. So yeah, healing that past lives included. And now Saturn is going direct, and he's got some cheerleading from Mercury in the house of the dead. So dead people are cheering you on. Mercury in the house of your financial stuff that I outlined. This can definitely look like some really good news financially. You know, like a dead stock resurrects. You had some money you didn't know. The government gives you a tax rebate. Your spouse has some positive money developments that cheer you up and move you forward both together. It could be about real estate and property. And the reason is, and legacy wealth as well, from either his family, her family, your partner's family, or your own, because Mars will get a trine from Saturn later in the end of November. And that can bring in some really positive developments around family of origin, or your partner's money, or legacy wealth, and property, home, and real estate for some of you Pisces. All right. Watch out for fighting in the home or conflict in the home. The best way to use that Mars moving through your 4th house from August 20th to, I think, March 23rd next year is, instead of fighting with the one you're with, do exercise in your home or renovate your home. Okay. Keep that in mind, because sometimes Mars in the 4th house leads to domestic conflict. And that's it. Thank you. And if you're watching live and you haven't hit my like button yet, because I'm in the premiere with you, please do. I'm probably in the chat box talking now, and check out and like and subscribe to my channel, and check out my contest. Tell me you subscribed. You're in the October Halloween draw. Thank you everyone for listening. That was fun. All right. Ciao, ciao. I'll see you guys on the Kazemi Venus video next with astrologer Louise Eddington. We will be doing all signs, and it probably will be out 2 or 3 days after this one. So catch the next wave. Bye-bye. Ciao. It's getting dark here.